Augusta boy is making history. He's the first patient in Georgia to legally use cannabis oil as part of a state-funded clinical trial. Researchers want to know if there's medical proof the oil can help children with severe seizure disorders. His mother calls it a miracle drug, and she believes it will save his life.
How are you?
It's a daily greeting for Valerie Weaver.
Hey, buddy.
As she gets her son Preston off the school bus.
Did you have a good day at school?
The first grader only responds with sounds, not words.
There's not ever really been any major communication between us, or with him at all.
Valerie adds her son has up to 80 seizures a day, and he's tried dozens of medications that haven't worked. But she's hoping that will all change, thanks to this medicine.
I knew that this could feasibly be something that would save his life and give him a better quality of life.
Preston is the first patient in the state to receive the marijuana-based drug Epidiolex through a clinical trial at Georgia Regents in Augusta.
You had no fear about putting Preston on a trial medication?
Absolutely not. No, not a doubt in my mind.
Preston got his first dose of the cannabidiol oil on December 30th. Researchers hope to better understand how Epidiolex can help children with severe seizure disorders.
We can learn more about the medication, not only how effective it may be, but also about potential undesirable outcomes.
Governor Nathan Deal supported the research effort last year after a bill to legalize cannabis oil failed to pass. Dr. Michael Diamond is overseeing the clinical process.
I hope that we will learn more about the potential efficacy and safety of cannabidiol and learn potentially more about which children may or may not benefit.
Preston is one of 2 children who will receive Epidiolex, and children from across the state are already enrolling in a larger 50-patient study. The trial is costing the state about $5 million, an investment in both time and money Dr. Diamond says is necessary.
I think there are definitely many children whose seizures are not able to be well controlled with the current medications that are approved. Question will be, is cannabidiol going to be the product that's able to help some of them to achieve that end?
Back at the Weavers.
This is one of his anti-epileptic drugs.
Valerie spends a few minutes prepping Preston's medicines.
I got to crush them up and turn them into a liquid to be able to get him in his G-tube because he can't take anything by mouth. This is the cannabidiol. This is the CBD. This is our miracle drug, I'm hoping.
Valerie hopes to take Preston off 3 anti-epileptic drugs and 2 prescribed medications he takes daily, leaving him only with Epidiolex.
Maybe the Epidiolex can control it completely. I mean, that would be fantastic if we could get that to happen.
Valerie can't talk about the changes she's seen in Preston since he started taking Epidiolex because of the ongoing study. But she's hoping it will give him a better quality of life.
Do you know what I would do to hear him say, Mom? I've never heard it, and he's 7 years old. And it would be just completely huge to me to be able to hear that.
She wants that same opportunity for all Georgia families who could benefit from cannabis oil.
Everyone needs this option. They need the chance to try it.
State lawmakers are working to pass House Bill 1. It would decriminalize cannabis oil. It also takes growing and distributing the oil in state off the table this year. Valerie says the revised bill is a step in the right direction, but it's not enough.
It's against federal law to cross state lines with it. So you're asking all of these families of special needs children to commit a federal offense to get medication for their children. How is that even, that doesn't even make sense.
Lawmakers are confident the bill will pass. During his State of the State address last month, Governor Deal said he hopes to sign the legislation this year. But he wants a committee to review how the in-state cultivation process will work from seed to sale.
I want us to answer the question of access as quickly as we possibly can while going through the proper steps to ensure safety and compliance with federal laws.
While she's grateful, Preston is getting the help he needs right now.
I love you.
Valerie says she won't stop fighting until everyone has access.
There's no reason that Georgia can't get this passed as an option for people that are suffering.
GW Pharmaceuticals makes Epidiolex. The company tells me the drug shows promise, and it hopes to get FDA approval in a few years. If that happens, Epidiolex would be available to anyone with a prescription, even if the state doesn't have a medical marijuana law on the books. It could also be covered by insurance. Now, here's a breakdown of HB1. It legalizes an oil form of medical marijuana that's high in CBD, a medicinal property of the plant, and then low in THC, so the patient can't get high. You must meet one of the 17 qualified medical conditions. Those include cancer, AIDS, ALS, and seizure disorders. Once signed into law, families can have the oil in the state without fear of prosecution. The bill's sponsor, Representative Alan Peake, says he's still figuring out how they can get access to it without breaking federal laws. The Georgia Commission on Medical Cannabis Regulation would also be created to establish a growing and distributing model in the state. Some state law enforcement groups have come out in opposition to the revised bill. They're worried it's much broader than what was originally proposed. The Georgia Sheriff's Association says it supports helping children who suffer from seizure disorders and adds in a statement, the sheriffs appreciate the commitment shown by Representative Peake on this issue, but do not agree other medical conditions should be included under HB1 without more conclusive research. The Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia agrees, calling it a laundry list of medical conditions. It adds there are no standards for these other diagnoses, and many of them can get treatment using other drugs. A House committee heard from both supporters and opponents of the medical marijuana bill this week. Representative Alan Peake expects a vote on Monday.